Hi guys, so today we have something a little different. We're going to be painting this girl while reviewing this Meedan 48 color watercolor palette. Meedan did send this to me, but I'm going to give you my honest thoughts and reviews. Here is the palette. I actually think the box design is really cool. It came in a cardboard box, but this is like the actual plastic case, and it's a nice hard plastic. I think it's really pretty, and it comes with this plastic color chart as well as a color chart that you can fill out yourself. I obviously already did this. I just thought it'd be more interesting to do it by myself, but you can see the colors are super vibrant, especially those fluorescents. There's a couple areas where I messed up, but whatever. But there's a mixing palette. Here are all of your colors nicely organized. You get a pencil, you get this paintbrush, and you also get a sponge and a eraser in there. So it comes actually with quite a bit of stuff. I have our sketch here, and I have this sped up just because I wanted to more talk about my thoughts of the paints rather than give you a tutorial. But all in all, I think these paints are really fun. As you could see from the finished painting at the beginning, and as you can see now, you get some really vibrant colors here, and they don't seem super chalky when they dry. You can also see I started with that one brush and I quickly changed over to my regular brush. This was more because of the size of the painting. This is obviously just a tiny little piece of paper that I'm doing this on, and I was having trouble getting the right sense of control with that bigger brush. But I had used that larger brush to do my swatches, and I had no problems with it then. So I think it's fine. I just had a really small painting and felt like I wasn't being able to get the details as carefully as I wanted. When I was doing my swatches, one of the things that I didn't think was great about this palette was the metallics. They were really hard and difficult to activate, and once I was able to really scrub in there, they just didn't have that much payoff. But honestly, there's not a lot of metallic watercolors that I really love anyhow, so that might just be me and my expectations, or it could be these ones. The other thing I found about this palette that maybe wasn't my favorite was that it almost performed more like gouache than it did watercolor. I think it's great because you get really nice, vibrant, bright colors that you don't have to work that hard to build up. But I found that sometimes it was laying way too thick for what I personally like. To give you a little background, I usually use Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolors, which are pretty traditional sense. They don't have super bright colors. They're not super crazy in any way. So this is definitely different. And also, I don't think Meedan is trying to present itself as Winsor & Newton. I think that they have a place in the art world. So I was really excited to get to try these out. And just one thing to keep in mind, though, is that they do dry down kind of fast in the pans, and they can lay really thick. I found myself having to re-wet my brush a lot. I don't pre-spray my palette, just personal preference. I don't like to do that, so maybe that would help if you did that. I'm not really sure, but when I did just go in with a wet brush, they did activate pretty easily. One thing that I also want to say is that yes, this will not be replacing my Winsor & Newton palette, but I didn't expect it to. But the place I think that this is really fun is for somebody who's looking to try out some watercolors. Maybe they're new to watercolors, they're new to art, and they just want something that doesn't feel scary, that they don't have to worry about color mixing. I didn't mix any of these colors. Also, that magenta for her shirt I think is absolutely beautiful. But they're not worried about the light fastness. They're just looking for something kind of fun. Maybe they want to take up art as a hobby, or maybe they're just kind of a little curious to see and they don't want to do this big investment, and they're overwhelmed by color theory and all these different, expensive brands. I think this palette is great for that. I used a very similar palette when I used to do art classes, and I would instruct them, and we would just kind of do fun art like this, nothing super serious, and I think it's great for that. There wasn't any pigment information, so I can't say it's great for kids, but if it is safe, which I'm pretty sure it is, I think kids would really enjoy this. So I don't know, I think maybe it isn't for everyone, maybe it isn't for the well-seasoned artist, but if you're just curious, give it a go. They're not expensive, and I like that Meedan is, bringing art supplies at a really affordable price. So those are just kind of my thoughts. Of course, I'm no expert, and you might feel different, but that was my experience, and you can see here that I was able to get a really fun illustration out of it. I didn't feel like I was fighting against the paints at any point. So if you've been interested in watercolor and want something that feels easy, maybe this will be something fun for you to check out. All right, bye-bye.